Tuesday morning, Simpsonville, South Carolina. Well, it's been 90s here in South Carolina as it's been in Florida, low 90s here. But we're headed back up to the mountain this afternoon where it's more in the 70s and 80s. So we're looking forward to the change back to the cooler temperatures. This past Sunday, we were in our church here in South Carolina, and the particular Sunday school lesson that we had was from Mark chapter 15. Now, most of you probably realize that that's the very end of Mark, and that's the crucifixion. We certainly were a little surprised when the lesson would be about the crucifixion. That's usually held for around the Easter time. But a question came up from one of the men in the class. He said, I wonder what was the feeling that Jesus had when he was spit upon. He said to me, he says, that's the epitome of the worst kind of disrespect and hatred that somebody could possibly have, is to spit on somebody. Well, a discussion pursued, and I didn't want to jump ahead of the teacher, so I let the discussion go. And there was some discussion about whether Jesus' hardest time was being rejected by his own people, the Jews, or perhaps when he was denied by his disciples, those that he had poured himself into for 3 years, and yet they denied him. Or was it when he was slandered by religious leaders, showing the hypocrisy of the religion leaders? Or when he was hit and punched by the Roman guard? When he was whipped and his back was taken to shreds? Was that the worst time for Jesus? Or was it when he was spit upon? Was that the greatest disrespect of God himself, to have the spit dribble down his face? Or was it when he was crucified, having been stripped of most of his clothes, losing all of his dignity, and having people gamble over the garments that were there on the ground? What was the time that Jesus felt the greatest of the humiliation of this whole process? Was it the mocking on the cross when he knew he could come down and kill him right on the spot, but couldn't, because if he did, then he couldn't finish his mission for God? Was it the fact that he was having difficulty breathing, and the pain and the thirst and the body temperature? When you read the American Medical Association description of the crucifixion, it's a horrible thing. I really hate to read it as I prepare for an Easter message. Was it when the spear was thrust in his side? Was he just gone enough and just awake enough that he really understood the pain of that spear being thrust into his side? Well, it was none of those things. The greatest difficulty for Jesus here on earth was there on the cross, when the sky became black, and when he cried out, and he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Oh, God hadn't forsaken him. I mean, he was God in the flesh, so he wasn't forsaken, but there was a separation of the triune God, because God can't have sin. And all of the sin of the world had come upon Jesus. He was dying for our sin. The sky became black, representing sin, the darkness of sin. And there, for the first time, Jesus would experience what man experiences. I mean, to the fullest amount. The terrible, terrible price and penalty of sin. Separation from God. Oh, I'm so glad the story doesn't end there. I'm so glad that he rose, proved that he was God in the flesh, that his mission was completed, it is finished, and that he had successfully accomplished what God sent him to do. There were still lame people, still blind people, still people that could use a healing, but he had accomplished something far greater. Forgiveness of sin. Yours, mine. I hope that you remember that today. What a tremendous price he paid. And what a terrible consequence comes with sin. The guilt, the shame, and all of the darkness of sin. But Jesus overcame all of that. And he did it for you and for me. God bless you and have a wonderful day.